I want to share with you what podcasting has done with me just in January, the month alone, and all the opportunities that I experienced and I can see coming forward to me in the future. So, for me to get started, I had a guest come on my podcast probably back in October. Her name is Lisa McDonald, and she's local to me, but I never met her in person. And she shared Embrace Imperfections. So check out the episode. It's just launched in January, so it's like 131, I believe. Uh, but I asked her, I said, are there any networking events in the area that, you know, she's been to and it might be good for me to go to? And then she mentioned her event that she was going to run in January. And, we're going back to October, November where we had the discussion. And so I told her, I said, I never spoke before, but I'm game. Let's go for it. So I did. And, I had a booth, where I shared, her podcast episode that launched the week of the event. And I also shared, how I can help other people start a podcast and they could become the Podcasters Hub, which is a community for podcasters. I got up to be on stage it was supposed to be 15 minutes. I probably got off a little early. I thought, maybe I was done because, the guy was down to the side, I kind of, cause I was like the tip, hey, we're getting close to time, but I think he was just doing something else. But the experience I had was great. And it wasn't just a stage. It was a catwalk as well. They were doing a fashion show during the same time, for the event. And so that's why they had it set up that way. So they had people in the seats on both sides. Now, I would say that there was probably a dozen to 20 people or so that were in those seats when I was speaking. They had to be the right people, right? So there was a reason they sat down to see and hear what I had to share. But I'm lost with words right now. It was just, it was an experience that I just thought like I probably would fall apart, but I didn't, right? And maybe it's because of everything I experienced in life. Maybe it's because I've been podcasting for 2+ years now, and that led me up to, hey, I can handle this. It's no big deal. I'm just gonna be me and show up. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. It's just who they are, and that's just what it is. I'm gonna give you as much as I can in 15 minutes of what I had to share. So I shared a little bit about my story with the going through divorce and everything, and I had a great time. I enjoyed it, and I was excited because what happened was the following week thereafter, I was hosting my own event, and if I didn't do that first one, I probably would be a little bit more nervous doing my first live event that I was hosting and be a little shaky, right? So let me dive into that, how that experience was for me. I was ecstatic with how it turned out. All the speakers that I had showed up, which was amazing, and they all came with enthusiasm. They provided the value that they were going to say they were going to bring. Some had slideshows, slideshows. Some had slides that they showed up on the TV behind them. Some didn't, and I was one of the ones that didn't. I was just I was there to share my journey, and it was great. So we met at a small place, a small venue up in New York. I know the guy that was running. His name is Dave Shemetsky, and he was part of it as well. And he's got it. I had him on the podcast as well, and I got to meet him in person prior. And that's just like another way of like podcasting has worked. Like I connected with him first, and then hey, we got this. Let's make this happen. And so I did. We went over the time that we allotted for, but it was okay. So we kind of let it free flow. Like, we had set 30 minutes for each guest or speaker, and some of them got into it, like, and that was okay. So we really didn't watch a clock a little bit. And then I was the last one to go. So I think that maybe that's why people hung around. Who knows? But it didn't matter to me. I was just there to provide as much as I could to the people that showed up. And then the really awesome thing is I was able to take my kids, and they're 12 and 15. So like, it's not like their thing, right? But I asked them at the end if they learned anything or one thing that they learned. They shared that. And then my daughter, her friend wanted to come for whatever reason. I guess, just something different to do and be around different people, and her best friend. Right. So that was a plus, I guess, for her. But and I share that because now, we're getting to the youth side of it. So it can open up their minds and see what else is going out there in the world, not just podcasting, not just videos and stuff like that, but actually meet people in person that you probably never met before. And that's happened. Like, so Nell was on Nell was there. I was on her podcast, and she's local to me too, but we never met before. Right. So she's like an hour away, I guess, from me. So we were able to meet in person and get to know each other a little bit better that way. Uh, and it was just a way to connect. Now, to the youth side of it, I found out my daughter watches a podcast, right? So they do the audio and video. I guess they shoot it on audio out on Apple. I don't know. I never got that far, I guess, asking her questions about it. But it's something I don't know the whole idea of this podcast, but it's like for kids, teenagers, a little older, whatever, and they're just like rambling on about stuff. At least that's what I saw of it. But it's enough to intrigue her. It's enough to intrigue, people that in that age group. And it's amazing how much this is opening up a little bit more to get to a younger age bracket. I did hear something about like 16-year-olds are starting to listen to more podcasts than ever before. I don't know where I heard that from, but it's something I remember. So it was great to hear that the kids are watching and listening to things, whether it's the appropriate stuff, I don't know yet, but the podcasting world's getting out to the younger generation. With that being said, at the end of my event, I was like, this is great. I had a great time, and I loved all the experience, all of the value these speakers had to bring. That I mentioned, I want to create something better, something bigger. Not that that wasn't bad, or not that that wasn't good, but I want to do something bigger and better. So I've mentioned about trying to do another live event come in May. So I'm trying to build that out, trying to work on that. And that would be, again, around the podcasting area. But more, I want to focus on like a workshop kind of deal. So people can come and they can bring whatever, let's just say, for example, that they wanted to edit a video, right? So somebody there as a speaker or a teacher, coach, however you want to, phrase, whatever words you want to put with them, could teach them. And you could have that video. Everybody could have their own video and show up and use the same program that coach could help them through to have that video edited and go home and it's done. And now they know how to do it themselves. So I want people to show up and get something done instead of taking notes and then going home and have to remember everything and do it themselves, or not do it at all, because, half the time we all go to these events, have a great time, and then we're back to the real world and we let things fall. So I don't want that to happen. I want to make this like a life-changing moment for the podcasting world for whoever can show up. So that's where I'm going. Like, I'm excited to build something even bigger and stronger and better. And then from the live event I had a member join us in the Podcasters Hub, which is a community for other podcasters or people they're looking to start a podcast. It's not expensive, as a small monthly fee, but you're able to connect with about 25 plus podcasters at the moment. And we're building that up. I'm creating ways that you can win things. I'm creating ways to get awards. The ideas are to have these podcasters that are in the group maybe present themselves of what they do and what their podcast is about. The other thing I threw out there too is, as I create live events, I want those people in that group first to have the opportunity to be a speaker, provided that they align with whatever event I'm doing. If it's podcasting, or if it's maybe their background of whatever their business is, or the story they could share with the audience, stuff like that. So I made that another value on top. I just did that this month. I'm like, let's just put this out there and say, hey, if you never spoke before, or if you have spoken before, here's an opportunity for you. And that was great because Heather is part of the community. She was on my podcast and she spoke at my live event. That was her first one. And she was so grateful for the opportunity to, get the jitters out of the way, or, the nerves, she did very well. So, I mean, if she was nervous, she hit it. But I'm excited to provide that opportunity to people. Even when I do podcast episodes, some people come on still and they've never been on a podcast. So they're all like scared and nervous. When they realize that right now it's just you and me talking, and then whoever watches it or listens to it, who knows? They might never hear about it again, but you just got to calm them down and just enjoy the conversation. So I love getting that out in the open with new people and just providing that experience. So that's something new I created in the Podcasters Hub. And, again, my communication skills just keep growing. I tend to listen. I feel like I tend to listen more. And that's basically why I don't come on and I guess do solo episodes, because I want to hear from other guests of their life experiences. And so I can take in that energy and, use it myself or give it to somebody else, whatever that information they have to share. The other stuff that happened this month, I mean, like those were big major things. The other stuff that's happened this month was I was able to sit down with a guest. So I was able to do like a quick recording, and then, it's going to come out in February. So I was able to squeeze a guest in that, I wasn't planning on it in the moment, because, I planned out my schedule like months out. And the reason I did months out was because I wanted to focus on my event, the speaking event I was going to, because it was all new for me. Like even though like it was not going to be perfect, I wanted to show up the best I could be, right? Or at least the best I thought I could be in it anyways. And so that's why I kind of spaced that out. I spaced that out for my podcast recording episodes. So now I won't start recording again until mid-February, which is coming up really quick. And right now I'm booked till almost May. I have a little list of people that I've sent the calendar out to. So I'm waiting to hear back from them, and then I'll start booking out even further. But podcasting, again, I bring this up all the time. It's definitely changed my life. It's changed the lives of other podcast guests that come on. It's changed the lives of people listening or watching this podcast. It's not, and you're not going to hear about it anymore. I'm sorry. You're not going to hear about it all the time. So if you have a podcast and you're doing it for a reason, like a love, desire, passion, you have to remember what that is, because you're not going to hear that person that goes, man, this is a great episode. I love this. There are people that are actually going to spend some time and do that. I've got a few of them along the way, but there are a lot of people that don't do it because they, I guess, don't want to put the time out there, right? Or they don't want to say what they have to say because maybe they're ashamed of their life story. So they don't want to say that they can relate to what the guest has to share, or maybe even what I have to share. And that's okay. But the other thing I hear is, I've been following you for a long time. I like what you're doing. And it just comes up out of a conversation because I reach out to them, or they reach out to me, and we just have a chat. And you don't know where it's going to go. But then when you find out that they've been watching or listening to you for a while, I mean, that's just enough to say that, okay, I have to keep going for a reason. That's all it takes. You get a few more subscribers, get a few more views, like, that there's something out there, like it's coming, right? And you don't have to have like the biggest podcast in the world. Like you want the numbers, but for what reason? Why? Like, I get it. Like, for me, I would love to have higher numbers. because then I know it's touching the right people. Like that's what I would want. But the people that probably get the higher numbers right away is because they already have a large following of something, right? They already have a large following of a business and a journey and a story that they completed already that allowed them to get very quick views and very quick subscribers. That's okay. And it's okay to start out and not have anybody. I started out with not having anybody that listened. And that's okay. Like you don't have to have somebody right away. Now, that being said, I created within the community too, I created a way for whoever's going to start with me, working with me to have a podcast. Like, hey, we're going to come together as a community. And when you launch, like, we're going to be like rooting for you and helping you out, like, sharing your podcast. Like, that's what it's all about. I didn't have that. So I'm providing that to the people I'm working with now so that we can get you out there and hopefully build you up even quicker. That's the idea, but it's not going to happen all the time. So you get all these like, hey, I can get you 10,000 subscribers, whatever, et cetera, these scams, if you want to call them that, which could happen, right? It could happen, but who are they really that are subscribing? Like you feel good inside that people are subscribing. You feel good inside that people are watching and listening, but are they the right people? Did they find you organically? Did they find you through an ad or something? And then how often are they going to listen? Like that's what it has to be. It has to be the right people. Right. And so that's what I want to focus on. Just create the same stuff that you've been creating over and over again. Switch it up a little bit if you have to. Like I'm doing a solo episode because I asked a few people on Facebook, hey, if I created one, what would it be about? And so I had a few suggestions, and here we are today. I'm sharing what happened through January for me to prepare me for February, and then it's going to be a few months out as well. And it's just fun. If you don't have a podcast, I encourage you to think about it. Start one. Now's the time. That there's so much opportunity there for you. Everybody thinks, oh, everybody's got a podcast. I got that said to me, and not everybody has a podcast. If there's only 300,000 to 400,000 posting one per week, and there's billions of people or a billion of people, right, in the world, not everybody has a podcast. No, it doesn't. Not everybody has their own business. Not everybody has a job. Not everybody, has something that everybody thinks they already have. So you put that aside, and if you think that a podcast is something you want to start, something you want to go on a journey with, I'm here as your procrastination accountability coach because I have the course Prevent Procrastination. So like, don't hesitate to start. Like, let's work together and get you up and going, and you can be a part of the community as well. Again, podcasting has changed my life forever, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm not giving up on it. It's just a never ending journey for me. So that's a quick wrap up of my January with just the podcasting, the speaking opportunities, the community, the stuff I got going on. And I'm excited to see where February takes me. Like I already have an idea, but I need to get through February. And then, maybe I give you a wrap up of what February was like if you really like this kind of episode. And yeah, so thank you for listening.